The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.
One of the most famous road courses in North America sits in Brazelton, Georgia. Owned by NASCAR, and across the street from the Lanier Raceplex, Road Atlanta has been hosting major forms of motorsport for decades on decades. It's also a staple on the Red Sox Racing League calendar, and that's where we are tonight. Welcome everyone to PTR TV for round number 4 of the Red Sox Racing League here at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. As usual, myself, Corey Silva, in the booth and giving you the commentary calls, doing the one-man show for the series as we are in qualifying and finishing up the session for the LMP drivers who are on track right now. Of course, it's been a very good season for the Red Sox Racing League. The field sizes have been growing massively as this series does gain some more traction and exposure, which of course we do love to see. As on track, Alex Keatslar turns slim laps. He is the fastest thus far in LMP with a 1 minute 10.3. Second place is Mitch Heller. We are in, as I said, race number 4 as we have our schedule on screen right now. You can see we are race number 4. We have Indy and Imola left to encompass our schedule here this season. Can say, looking at the point standings that I was provided after Fuji, Les Turner, who is currently 8th of 9 in LMP in the Batman Mobile, is the leader in points. I think that is solely via participation, where he has not missed a race yet, but that will not stand as we are accounting for a drop week in a few weeks' time. Robert Barros up by 16 over Kondrowski, and then Breifogel the top 3 in the GT3 class here. As a minute or so left, Ryan Robertson will be the pole sitter for the GT3 class. I'm trying to see if Aldo Secklin is here today, because they had a few good races to start the season out, both of which were absent at Fuji last week, one of the newer tracks on the schedule. So we're seeing if they would come back here to Road Atlanta, which is a very common track that I think every season that I have covered these guys, which is, I don't know, we've been about 7 or 8 seasons or so, it feels like, at this point. I think Road Atlanta, I'll probably say Road America, at least once or twice. Road Atlanta has been on just about every schedule, so definitely a track that everybody does know on the inside of their hands, so that should help out with the competition here this evening. Couple disclaimers going into this broadcast. I still, about 3 weeks now, have had a scratchy throat, so just forgive me on any pauses while I recuperate from that. And we are fresh on a Windows 11 update, and there is some issues I'm having with it, so we're just going to cross our fingers and pray that everything goes smoothly. Luckily, we only have our 35-minute race here, and expect that to go just fine. Our weather conditions here from Brazelton, Georgia: 77 in the air with an 80-degree track temp, 57% humidity with negligible wind, so not really too much of a concern on that this evening. Of course, our race details brought to you by Sunshine Boy on Twitch. The 35-minute race length, our point penalties that we do assess as the incidents rack up, and the limited fuel load that usually gives us a pit stop around the 20 or so minute mark. So again, right now, looks like we have 10 LMPs and just scratching down here, about 19 GT3s. So it's not quite a split field. The GT3 is definitely the more populous field here, and typically we've always had one series always end up kind of dominating. Looks like the GT3s are it, but we'll see what does happen. Mitch Heller does have 1 win on the season. Actually, I'm going to scratch that back. He does not have a win on the season. I misread the statistics here, but he has been up front so frequently. Dave Hill got a win, I believe, at Monza, if memory does serve, but Mitch Heller just itching for that win. He is so close to it, but thus far in qualifying, not quite at the pace required. But the cool down session is coming to a close, so in just a matter of moments, we're going to head down trackside for the starting lineup. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in to PTR TV. If it's your first time, of course, hit that like and subscribe button. Help us on our road to 1,000. Just crossed 800, so we'll see how soon we can hit the next landmark. So any help with that, of course, is a good thing. And an Anodyne, our presenting race sponsor. I don't have the spiel on me this time, Terry, but Anodyne has been presenting some of these races, so kudos to them. But let's head down trackside and give you the starting lineup here today from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. On tonight's overall poll, with that lap time of 1 minute 10 flat, is Alex Keatsar, Dave Hill on the outside of the front row. Third, we have Mitch Heller, Mark Wilson rolling off in fourth, Robert Cansian in fifth, Todd Baron-Pietri in sixth, and then rounding out our LMPs, we have Ross Booth, Les Turner, Bill Paulucky, and then Dennis Griffin. Starting off our GT3s, Ryan Robertson with Peter Mahler outside of that front row. You can see Robertson 4/10 up. Amazing pace there. Reed Rundle in third, Mark Kadrowski in fourth, Jerry Miller in fifth, Robert Barrows in sixth, Terry Dahl in seventh with Jason Breifogel in eighth, Paul Lindsay, and then Dwayne McCarthy round out the top 10. Scott Husted in 11th spot with Ed Sutcliffe in 12th, Kevin Kyle in 13th, and then Gerald Livingston in this 14th spot. Maybe I said the wrong number there. Shane Hunter in 5th, James Prostell Jr. in 16th, and then 17th we have Brian Irby, Matt Owens, and Rich Jameson rounds out the field. It looks like we will be doing the full pace lap here. I know the abbreviated pace lap here at Road Atlanta is very abbreviated, so sometimes it's not enough time to get everybody situated. You can see that The GT3s will be provided a approximately 15-second or so gap in between them and the LMPs. I think we were estimated about 3 to 4 interactions, and they're expecting to catch the back end of the field around lap 3 or 4 potentially, depending on exactly how the pace is. Around 30 laps. Also, we are expecting for the LMPs, and as we kind of go on board with somebody here. I'm just trying to take a look here. You can look up to the sky and you can see that the sun is on its way down, so we may have the lights turn on here, but I don't think we will have any issues with illumination. Of course, we do have the headlights, as you can see, but I don't foresee an issue with light here at Road Atlanta, so definitely should be still racing under somewhat daytime conditions. Coming through turns number 6 and 7 here. Kind of a double apex right-hander. Kind of acts almost as one corner, but just long enough to where you're kind of having to set it up twice. And then you head down what is essentially the back straightaway here. Not quite straight in any capacity because there is some undulations and a slight curve to the right, which does qualify as turn number 9. And then we end up for the final turn 10 complex, and 11-12 down the hill to take the start finish. We had a whale of a race to end the last season with TCR and GT3, where we had a really good battle. I believe it was for the TCR race win, as they were getting swallowed alive by GT3s. Put on a whale of a finish here with the extra speed differential with the LMPs compared to those other cars. Definitely some interesting interactions should be on our hands, but Alex Keatslar will be the one to get this race underway. He will be in command of it. The pace car has already pulled in, or there, as we speak, there he does. Barney the flagman has the green flag in his grasp, and he's just going to be waiting to get it underway. There it is. We're racing here at Road Atlanta. See what happens off into turn number 1 with Dave Hill to the outside. He's going to dip in line right behind Keatslar. Heller in the 45. He'll fall back in line too. Everybody racing rather cautiously. Looks like Les Turner may be looking to take a move on Bill Lucky in that 81 machine, but for the time being, we'll stay put. We'll check up on our GT3s, who are going down the hill as we speak. Ryan Robertson in command of that charge with Peter Mahler to his outside. I think they're going to go on or around the start-finish line. Green flag is waving, and there goes GT3 ready and raring to race here at Road Atlanta. Here they come off into turn number 1. Robertson, again, he had that 0.4 of a second pace advantage in qualifying, and takes it to heart right off the bat by pulling away by a second in the opening few corners here, headed down through the S's, down the hill here at Road Atlanta. Up the hill, the left-hander here is 5. A lot of runoff room to the right there you have with the curbing and the extra pavement. Kind of go up and down the hill here, and then you set yourself up in for the double right-hander turn number 6 and 7. Again, it's just a big of a gap in there that makes it 2 separate corners, but it very much races as a single corner, at least in my experience here. Back up to LMP, and Mitch Heller closing in on Dave Hill. Battle between the 45 and the 13. See what happens here heading in to 6 and 7. Looks like nothing for the time being, but this is a good slipstream opportunity for Heller here, coming down the back straightaway here. He did lose a fair bit of time, 3/4 of a second back, and then out of the front windshield of Dave Hill, you could see Alex Keatslar pulling away and starting to drive off into the proverbial sunset here. But Ross Booth, one of the fastest guys in the series, we know that from how many times he's been up front. He's starting to make a charge here. He passes Robert Cansey and gets himself up to 4th. Does have a 4-second gap that he does need to swallow, as well as passing 2 drivers before he could even consider getting to Alex Keatslar. But we'll see if he is able to take that into challenge and make something happen there. Les Turner, again, our points leader by what we've been given. Currently shotgun on the field trying to do something with Dennis Griffin in the 9 car, rather in the 23 car in the 9th spot. Ryan Robertson now up by almost 2 seconds over Peter Mahler. Reed Rundle about another second back to Mark Kidrowski in the pink machine. Robert Barros 5th, Jerry Miller, Jason Breifogel, Terry Dahl. I'd say Terry Dahl have a little bit of a disappointing season. I've had seen him in more incidents than usual, and just really hasn't been in the top 5 as much as we're used to. Usually he's a top 5 with a win opportunity a season, but just hasn't really been the case. So see if something happens with him. Dwayne McCarthy and Paul Lindsay top 10. Looked like Lindsay was going to take a stab at McCarthy there, but shows otherwise. Can say that the gap up front starting to shrink just a little bit. I think we already had our first interaction with GT3. You can see here Robert Kansian having to get around that Mercedes there. I'm trying to make up who it is. They're going around there. I want to say that, oh, someone's going around there. That's Jerry Mueller going around here. I think he's in 6 and 7, a very precarious position to have issues. Go back on replay, see what happened to him. See here, he's just coming through 6 and 7 and a little bit loose on exit. Nice slow spin, but unfortunately into the barriers for him. Back to live action here. You can see Alex Kietzlar swallowing up GT3s like it's a hungry man for breakfast right here. He is closing in on, who is that, the number 57 machine. That's Jason Breifogel. My Terry Dahl here. And that has allowed him to pull away. He did lose a bit of a lead, but now it is right back to where it was. Ross Booth, I was taking a look at him. He did gain a significant amount of time, but you know, once the GT3 traffic came his way, you know, kind of karma has, you know, it has its ebbs and flows, and caused him to lose that time that he did gain. Heller did stretch out a gap of about a second over Dave Hill here. Robertson now up by 3 seconds in his class over Mahler. So again, Robertson with the wins this season already, and having the 2 wins this season in 3 races. Unfortunately, he did miss that race at Fuji, but with the drop week, very much still a champion contender, if not the favorite. Gap up front in LMP, just about 2 seconds now, as it looks like Kietzlar has managed to get through all of the traffic, but same cannot be said for Heller, who's going to be getting them going down the hill here, it appears. Stuck behind Reed Rundle there, heading up the hill. And, oh no, Heller again goes around. He's going to do an instant reset there, but Mitch Heller, I think I've commentators cursed him more times than anybody. Replay on screen right now. You can see he just got caught up behind Reed Rundle, and it's just when he got up on the curb, it had nothing to do with Rundle there, but he just got up on the curb, and it just, that was what sent him around. And again, Heller is just, he's such a fast driver, but unfortunately just kind of has a lot of self-induced mistakes, as sad as it is to say, and it really has taken a much better results away from him. But here comes the battle for second, as it looks like Booth has managed to get by Hill already. Hill was trying to recoup that, but will not be able to. So now Booth, 3.5, almost 4 seconds to Kietzlar. Be interesting to see if he can close in for that. We have a GT3 off track. That's Mark Kidrowski. He was in a good position. Let's go back and see what happened to him. He was battling with That's the 43, a Reed Rundle. And may have been contact, net code, or arrow, something like that, but sent him off into the grass there in turn 1 and 2. Does keep going, but the time has been lost. Here he is trying to get by Terry Dahl. Let's see what else we got going on here of action. Looks like we still have Breyfogle in that 57 machine. He's running a different... Oh no, it's the same scheme, just the lighting's throwing me off here. He is getting surpassed by the 81 of Bill Pawlucky, some LMPs, and Dahl just behind him trying to close in. Dahl has Paul Lindsay in that baby blue number 70 machine just behind him. And then you have Dwayne McCarthy and Scott Husted just behind that. They're separated by just a car length or so. And tail end of the GT3 field, Shane Hunter, Ed Sutcliffe, and Matt Owens, all within close proximity of a few car lengths. So a couple guys, you know, we don't get to show on air too much, but you know, they're in the doings of a potential battle. Back up to our overall lead, and can say that the gap is maintaining. Something going on in GT3. Thought there was something going on in GT3, but I guess not. Telemetry lied to me there. But what I was saying is the gap up front in LMP has stabilized at, you know, between 3.5 and 4 seconds. Does seem to be staying in that same proximity, so Booth not cutting into the lead as I may have expected him to. Dave Hill not has dropped off a little bit from Booth, but nothing substantial here. As you can see, the illumination taking place here at Road Atlanta. I don't see the lights on yet. I can see the headlights are definitely making some illumination onto the racetrack here, but I don't see the actual the lights on. Of course, we only have the temporary Musco lighting fixtures here. There's not a, of course, stadium lighting. You can see here heading into 6 to the inside of the track. You'll see, well, I guess not from that angle because we looked at it too quickly, but there are some temporary Musco lighting plastered around the racetrack. Of course, for the Petit Le Mans, iRacing did kind of give this track the pseudo night lighting feature, which is nice, so we may see a little bit more of it as the evening does progress over the course of the next 24 minutes. See, we do have a battle going on here. Robert Barros, and that's what's been throwing me off here. Mark Kedrowski, he is in the pink, what looks like a number 43 livery, but it is indeed a 944, so I was wondering why I've been so confused making calls pertaining to him, but that would explain that situation. Kedrowski actually coming into the pits here about 12 minutes into the race, and can also state that Dave Hill, he's really staying close to Ross Booth, not falling back too much at all, which is much to my surprise. And actually Keatslar starting to pull away. Now the gap almost 4.5 seconds. If you're paying attention to GT3, you can see on the leaderboard 7.5 seconds for Robertson, so literally just driving off into the literal sunset here this evening. Terry Dahl, he is kind of in a little sandwich here with Breyfogle and Lindsay still. Kind of one of the closest battles actively on track right now as we are about 13 minutes in, closing in on the halfway point. And it's usually right around the 10 to 15 minute to go mark that we usually see most of the pit stops, at least given the experience I've had. But of course there are varying strategies, and I've said it said it many times, of course, the big rule here in this series is that you have to make sure you get back to the pits under power, or you face a penalty. We did see that with Dave Hill at Monza, where he did win the race, but did not have enough fuel to make it back to the back to the pits, excuse me, after the checkers, and he did keep the win, but did lose points. So it's the first time I've really seen that happen, especially by a winner. But it does indeed happen here. And I do want to switch over the ticker to lap times for a brief moment. You can see that Keatslar at a 1:10.3. But look at Booth and Hill right on top of each other. Robert Kansian in the 4th spot, not too far off in terms of pace. Mitch Heller, he is on track, albeit 1 lap down in class and in 10th shotgun on the field. But he is out here, did get some repairs and maybe hoping for a little bit of attrition. But he is on circuit right now, and then you can see on the red information on the bottom that Robertson 2 seconds, nearly 2 seconds faster that time than Peter Mahler. So just absolutely obliterating the field in GT3, and nobody really even close to him at this point. They're going to have to take some horsepower away from that 210 if we're going to have any kind of season at this point. Here comes our race leader in LMP, Alex Keatslar, to the attention of his pit crew. A very difficult pit lane here as well at Road Atlanta. Very easy to speed, very easy to go off track. So something you're going to be very, very careful of is something you also have to be careful of is getting through GT3 traffic here, coming down the S's. As see our now overall leader Ross Booth there getting around our GT3 leader Ryan Robertson there in the S's, or at least oh, never mind, there's 2 almost identical cars, so scratch that. It wasn't Ryan Robertson, but he still nonetheless had to get by some GT3s there through the S's. And now Ross Booth has clear real estate here. Dave Hill in the sandwich here, getting around the 991 machine. That's Matt Owens, Dwayne McCarthy, he just got by. And Shane Hunter, that's why I got confused, a very similar livery to Ryan Robertson, if not the same livery, so that is exactly why I got confused by it. But we'll see when Ross Booth chooses to come to pit lane. 16 seconds worth of fuel for our fastest driver out, Keatslar. Todd Barron Pietri in pit road in the 808 machine. You can definitely see the headlights are providing a massive amount of illumination at this point, so they may have some kind of enhanced double sunset here, or 2x sun, because the sun is definitely going down mighty fast here at Road Atlanta. See how bumpy it is over the curbs there. Exiting, I think it's 6, if I'm not, exiting 5. You really have to be careful. That's what actually threw off Heller there, is getting that really low to the ground LMP over a bunch of bumps and undulations. It sent him right around, so definitely have to be careful about that. Coming up on the halfway point here, or just as close to it as we are going to get. We'll see if Ross Booth, our pseudo leader for the time under pit stops, he will keep it on the circuit one more time, closing in on the 004 of Peter Mahler. So that's second in GT3, currently 9.5 seconds or so behind Ryan Robertson. So it's definitely going to take a mistake of some capacity for any GT3 situation to happen tonight, but we'll see what happens with Keatslar and Booth. It was about a 4 to 5 second gap. We'll see how it equalizes out once pit stops do completely cycle. Only about 5 or so cars have pitted overall. Can report that just about everybody is still on track except for Kevin Kyle in GT3. He is one of the few who is off of the racetrack. So 17 minutes to go in tonight's session, and just still waiting to see if there's any more pit stops, but haven't seen any yet. So everybody staying out. It'll be interesting to see what Keatslar and his strategy, how it does work out. Because, again, we usually don't see in this series, in all the races I've covered, where I've probably covered at least 30 of them, I've never really seen people pit at the opening of the pit window. It's usually always towards the end of the pit window. So we'll see how that inverse strategy works here. We do have a potential battle for position here, lead lap in class, and well, that will be ceased as Dennis Griffin will get by Bill Pawlucky by default, as Paul Lucky will arrive to his pit stall. Booth up by 7 seconds plus over Dave Hill, and still waiting for each of them to have their first and only pit stop of the evening. "16 laps on the boards here, coming in. This is taking lap number 17 of what we are estimating to be a 30-lap event here tonight from Road Atlanta. If you're just tuning in late, Mitch Heller did have a self-induced spin getting through GT3 traffic earlier on in the event. He's running 1 lap down. Ross Booth did have a lower starting spot of 7th, but is leading now via strategy. Is probably going to equate out to a 2nd place pace once pit stops do cycle. Here comes points leader Les Turner to pit road. Very surprising run here for Les Turner. Usually he's top 3, top 5, but has really been on the tail end of the grid here this evening, so very surprising to see that. Paul Lindsay gaining some spots. He is all over the rear bumper of Breyfogle here. Heading into 6, and then 6 and 7 heading down the back straightaway here. See if he can use that slipstream to his advantage underneath the modal bridge. See if DRS zone. Of course, we don't have DRS, but what it does indicate is it's a very big slipstreaming opportunity, as they'll head hard on the binders into the chicane here, and looks like he's going to take a stab at it. And Breyfogle, who tends to play cautiously, said, "Go for it. I don't want to fight that, and it's not worth the risk," and lets him go. So move Breyfogle into 5th in class. Still waiting. There's only been about 1 or 2 GT3s that have come to pit road here thus far, so still waiting for the bulk of them to take their time and refuel their machines. Don't really expect tire changes because they just take far too long for how little they're worth in such a short event. Here comes Booth down the hill once more, taking yet another lap. His last lap, what I think he's trying to do, he's taking advantage of these tires that are absolutely at maximum capacity right now. They're at max pace, and he is running absolute flyers. I'll pull up lap times once more. You can see a 109.2 to Keatslar, a 112. Keatslar, you can see on screen, he is in a hornet's nest of GT3s right here, which is slowing him up. And Keatslar 46 seconds behind Booth, and I can state that the pit lane delta is about 39 seconds. That's how long Keatslar, excuse me, that's how long Keatslar was in the pits for, from lane to lane with the pit stop. He was in the pits for 39 seconds. So if the gap between the two of them stays, roughly 40 seconds plus, Booth should come out of this with the lead. So that being said, we'll see, and that's going to be a very big number to watch. Booth is going to want to make sure he slices and dices through this lap traffic as efficiently as possible, and he's going to keep it on the track for one more lap. I would have to imagine that fuel tank, that fuel reservoir, is coming rather dry at this point, running on fumes here. He's going to end up catching some of this traffic going down the hill, which is not really when you want to catch it because it is a one-line section of the track. See if he can time it here to catch them here out of 5. Yes, he will catch him out of 5, and then he'll have 6 and 7 to himself. And you see that gap still 45 seconds, so as long as Booth has a similar length pit stop to what Keatslar did, he should come out with a lead if the data that I have is anywhere remotely accurate. So we'll see what happens here. He's lap number 20, so closing in on what will most likely be the end of the fuel zone here. That's Dwayne McCarthy. He's going to come into pit road in GT3, but Booth's going to keep it out once more. See that long pit road? You can see the Musco lighting here off in the scenery and off in the distance is on here. So definitely light is of the premium here, and somebody going wide there. It wasn't Robertson, it was the other exactly painted car of such that I just can't seem to find here offhand. Shane Hunter that went off into the grass just for a little bit. See Robert Kansian in the pits for LMP. Dave Hill in the pits as well. And it looks like, based on what I'm seeing, so Dave Hill did have a much shorter pit stop than Alex Keatslar by 5 seconds. And because of that, he's actually relatively close to Keatslar on the track when he wasn't before. Keatslar with that 16-second pit stop. But here comes Ross Booth. And one thing to remember with Dave Hill at Monza ran out of fuel. So his pit stop, it was a really short one, but was it too short? What we'll really have to see is what kind of pit stop does Booth have. So he gets into his box nice and smoothly. And waiting on it, 7, he's on 8 seconds, 9 seconds, 10 seconds, and 11.3 is his registered pit stop. And a 34-second pit delta. And he's going to exit the track here. He's in the S's. And Keatslar is just barely, not even at start-finish. So Booth took a 5-second deficit entering the pit cycle and turned it into 15 seconds on the racetrack. So, and just looking at the data I do have on the back end, that it's been on my list to put it, as public data on the overlay. I just haven't got there yet. Keatslar had the longest pit stop by far of anybody in LMP. So it'll be, I think he may be kicking himself for that one. Peter Mahler on pit road. And you can see he's just getting to his pit box right now, is Peter Mahler. And Robertson has already surpassed him for the lead. So that just goes to show you how big of a gap he has. Terry Dahl registered in 3rd right now, but he's in the pits as we're just waiting for it to shuffle out here. We're trying to see what the actual gap is going to be. I think Mark Kudrowski, we'll see if he's pitted yet. Has Mark Kudrowski pit? He already has. So it looks like Kudrowski is going to take over 2nd in GT3 with the 16-second gap to the race leader, Reed Rundle, about a second or so back. Then you have Barros in 4th and Peter Mahler in 5th. Of course, if anything happened to Mahler, we don't quite know because, I only have one set of eyes that we've been focusing on other battles, but definitely has lost some time. Paul Lindsay, who's been gaining some positions here this evening. He started 19th, of course that was in class, so a little bit different. But he's gained about 3 or 4 cars positions on track this race, so he's been picking them off and may have the opportunity to pick one more off. But then Ross Booth, 16 seconds, and he's just showing that pace. And It's very hard to believe, to be honest. I didn't think he'd have a 16-second lead. I thought maybe 5 to 6 seconds at most, but crazy. 5 seconds in the pits at race speed is obviously a much bigger gap, and that is exactly what happened. So, barring a mistake, this race is definitely won in both classes already. But make sure you stay to the end. And of course, next week's race, we are at the Indianapolis Road Course, so a track that does have an ample amount of slipstreaming, high-speed braking zones, and rather flat, but I personally really enjoy the layout. Of course, on iRacing has been updated a few months ago to its updated layout that NASCAR and IndyCar both enjoy running on. So it'll be our first time in the Red Sox Racing League headed there, and first Roval of the season. So we don't typically run Rovals in this series. Usually it is purpose-built road courses, but Rovals do have their entertainment value, so we'll head there next week and then wrap things up at Imola in 2 weeks' time, and then we'll prepare for our winter 2022 season, which will subsequently come soon after that. So let's just go ahead and see if there's anything going on track of note right now. I think Mitch Heller may actually pick one off position-wise. He is shotgun on the field in 10th in class, but Todd Marin-Pietri is directly ahead of him in that 808. So see, as they're getting through some heavy lap traffic here, GT3 traffic. That's Terry Dahl that they are surpassing there, exiting 1 and 2 here, headed down into the S's, and of course down the hill here. So I do think Heller will pick off this spot, probably exiting 5 into 6, I would imagine. See, on board with him here. This is where he spun out. You can see how much more cautious he's being off throttle, allowing the car to set there as it does get really light. And then he's coming into 6 and 7. He's going to try to set it up for a huge run, and you can see the interaction they're already prepared to have. See if he's able to take a dive. See some slipstreaming going on, breaking the draft, but also preparing. That's Jason Breifogel they're getting around, and Heller's going to get on the binders here, and he's going to have to watch out because that's Paul Lindsay and Peter Mahler just in front of him there, but he will get around Marin-Pietri, move up to 9th. So he did pick one off, even though the won't finish shotgun on the field, barring that he gets to keep that. But just ahead of that, that's a battle for position as Mitch Heller tries to get around, but the 70 in the 004, that is a battle for position, 5th and 6th in class. So they're not just going to roll over and play dead. They want those spots, and they're racing hard for them. As that's Lindsay in the baby blue machine and Mahler in the lime green machine, both having Marin-Pietri just behind them. Do have another live battle on track in GT3 with Dahl in the lime green machine and 991 of Matt Owens in the black stealth ride. But Owens didn't get off of 5 that well, so that'll give Dahl just a little bit of breathing room there. Mahler closing back in via the slipstream there on the back straightaway into the kinks here. I don't think he's close enough for the dive, but we'll see if he does choose to at least attempt it. No, he will keep himself situated in that 6th spot. But again, up leaders in class right now. Ryan Robertson 17 seconds up over Kedrowski for 2nd. Really getting loose there as he tried to get out of the way for Keatslar there. And then Booth now up by 17 seconds. Ross Booth would be going for his 3rd win out of 4 races. The only race he did not win was the race won by Dave Hill. So batting 750 if he can complete it down, and I believe that should be 2 to go, or very close to it here. See him fighting it down the hill here. See, not quite, and then it's not quite night, but as close to it as it could be without actually being night, I would say the conditions are right now. So he is flashing and, you know, making his presence known to all the drivers that he is trying to get by here. It'll be interesting because if the timer is at a time that is over 1 minute and 10 seconds when he gets to start finish, that should indicate that we'll get an additional lap. If the timer is under 110, that should be the final lap. So actually, I think this is going to be 2 to go. We're right at that point where I think we'll be able to squeeze in another lap before... Yeah, right now he's at a minute 23 crossing the stripe, so we should actually get 2 to go. If anything changes, the iRacing ticker will allow us to see that information. Here comes, I didn't realize I was muted as I was coughing there, but here we come for the final time here. Ross Booth coming on the back straightaway here. Les Turner going to go a lap down to his class leader. Getting through a couple more GT3s. But he'll do it no problem. He's going to bat 750, 3 wins out of 4 races. Ross Booth wins again here at Road Atlanta. Alex Keatslar gonna be about 20 seconds back in GT3. Could have the race what we thought was locked up, but the pit cycle and the overall pace by Booth just came a little bit too strong there. And Alex Keatslar will get the second, and Dave Hill hot on his tail for third. Ryan Robertson, he's now coming down the back straightaway here. He's going to come into the kink for the final time and head up underneath the bridge and down the hill. And just in the same boat as Booth, 3 out of 4 races, Ryan Robertson wins for GT3 here at Road Atlanta. Mark Kidrowski, almost a carbon copy, 18 seconds back in second. And then Robert Barros, barring that Paul Lindsay doesn't get him here in the last couple seconds, is going to take home that third spot. Actually, I don't know if this is live. I think Barros ran out of fuel there, so Lindsay actually got him at the stripe there. If that was, I believe that actually was a live pass, so kudos to them if so. But you can see the visuals here at Road Atlanta here in the evening conditions, and let's go ahead and give you the final race results. Ross Booth with that win by 21 seconds over Alex Keatslar. Dave Hill in third. Robert Kansian with the fourth. Mark Wilson with the fifth. Les Turner in sixth. Bill Lucky, Dennis Griffin, Mitch Heller with that spin gets to be the ninth place driver. And Todd Marin-Pietri in 10th. And then rounding out our field, Ryan Robertson gets the win in GT3 with Kadrowski, Lindsay, Barros, and Mahler, the top five. And then Bry Fogel, Rundle, Dahl, Owens, and Hunter, the top 10 in GT3. And then the remaining drivers on the screen right there for us. And gonna try to get a good camera angle here of our race winner, if it is indeed possible for me. Let's try to get a good angle for him while he is on track now. And let's see, Ross, you got me, bud?
I got you.
All right, so you're batting 750 this season, man. 3 wins out of 4 races. You make it look easy. I know it's not, but you make it look easy. Of course, you had to come from the back, and Keatslar had a really slow pit stop. You had a really efficient one and some really good pace there. Talk about your night, man.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my more favorite multi-class racetracks. The flow of it and saving fuel where you can makes it a really exciting one for me. The setup was not very good tonight. The hit really hard over the curves, so you can attack the curbs at all, or it got very unhappy. But all in all, it was a pretty good race.
Yeah, it was, man. And Road Atlanta, obviously a staple on our calendar, and it ended up just working out in your favor. And then next week we head to the relatively new Indianapolis Roval. I know most of us have probably gotten some laps there, but first time for the Red Sox Racing League. So what's your hopes heading into Indy next week?
Unfortunately, I won't be here, but I have driven that track and it's a blast. So I think everyone here will have a great time running it, and I'm excited to watch the broadcast. Going on vacation next week, so tune in.
All right, sounds good. I got one in a few weeks myself, man. Who do you want to give a shout out to for your 3rd victory on the season?
Just big thanks to Les and Terry as always. The racing here is always fantastic. Really great group of people to race with each and every week. And we'll see everybody in a couple weeks.
All right, sounds good, man. Congrats again. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, and then I got Ryan Robertson, kind of a clone to what I said to Ross Booth. You're batting 3 out of 4, 750 this season, 3rd win. Made it look easy. I mean, to be honest, I don't know if any of your wins have really been challenging, at least from a broadcast side. Talk about what it was like here this evening.
I mean, the Monza win was on strategy alone, so that was a close one at least. Yeah, it was. I don't know. I broke the draft by lap 2, and it was just kind of taking it a little bit easy. Still hopped T3 and got a 1X, so missed out on some bonus points. But no, it was just, I like Road Atlanta. It's a fun track. Keeps you awake at least, because you'll mess. Any of these turns can easily dip a tire the wrong way, and it's just done. There's a wall. So.
Yeah, and a lot, especially being a relatively short track, there was a lot of class interactions here, and LMP's speeding by at full song, so that keeps you awake as well. And as I said to Ross, we head next week to a modestly new track. It's an old track with some new updates at Indy and the Roval layout there. We don't head to a lot of Rovals in this series, so what are you looking forward to, and do you think you can go 4 out of 5 next week at Indy?
I'm hoping I can. I haven't ran the new track except for, trying. I forgot what car I tried it out in. Well, I guess new track, the new scan of Indy. So the only part I've run it in IndyCar before, but not the new scan with the new, couple turns near the end. So it'll be an interesting thing to try. I might actually go to practice to learn it a little bit beforehand.
You might actually have to practice. What does that make everybody else feel?
No. I mean, I come here and practice like an hour before, but I mean, I'll actually have to put in another day's worth of work.
I'm just pulling your leg, man. It's all in good fun, man.
Not trying to talk trash, right?
All right, it's all in good fun, man. Who do you want to give a shout out to for your victory this evening?
I want to shout out my team, Satellite Racing, and shout out to Les and Terry for running the league and you for casting.
All right, sounds good, man. And we'll see if we talk to you at Indy next week.
All right, man. See you.
All right, so that is a broadcast here this evening, and Again, the two dominant drivers this season taking home more victories, and congratulations both to them, Robertson and Booth. And again, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. We're trying to grow the channel here. We are going to be with the Red Sox Race League again next week at Indy, and we'll be with the TNR Big Block Bonafide Dirt Series on Tuesday. A couple gaps to fill in here, so if you're interested, check out PTR TV at primetimeracinggtv.com, and you can inquire about getting us to cover your series. But that's the broadcast here tonight. Corey Sola signing out of the booth. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.